Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Well, it is a beautiful night for baseball, and look at the old gal Wrigley Field. The bleachers now open in left field. You may remember they were not when we were here earlier this season. And they have opened tonight for the first time in right. A brand new video scoreboard out there as well. Can you believe it? This is Wrigley Field, the first of four between the Reds and the Cubs. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. Well, the Reds are playing good ball. There's no doubt about that. They've ripped off 4 straight wins, and this is an important series. The bad news is, as many of you know already, Zach Cozart, having an outstanding year, Chris, is now lost for the season after an injury to his knee yesterday.
I don't think there's anybody around baseball that doesn't really feel for Zach Cozart. He is well respected not only by his teammates, Tom, but everywhere. He plays the game the right way. Just a real tough break for him. ACL reconstruction surgery. He's going to have that on Monday and be out a long time. So what do? You wish him well, and you move on, and you hope that you're able to pick up the slack a little bit, because he does leave a void. Last year struggled at the plate. This year he was protecting Jay Bruce in the number 5 spot, and whoever thought that would have been in the future for Zach Cozart. But you got to move on, and you do that mentally as a ball club. They get thrown one challenge after another. This is just another one. Eugenio Suarez is the shortstop, is going to be, at least right now, the guy going to take his place.
And you may remember, he was a young man the Reds really coveted in that deal for Alfredo Simon. He was a regular shortstop for the Tigers for the better part of about 2.5 months last year.
You're right. So he's had plenty of big league experience. He's a guy that was experimenting with being a switch hitter. He's hitting only right-handed now. He's got some home runs. He had 25 runs batted in down in Louisville, second on the ball club there. So he packs a little punch offensively. He makes all the plays defensively, and he's going to get a chance to do it here at the big league level.
All right, we're set to go. When we come back, Jim Day will talk about the matchup. Michael Lorenzen, Tsuyoshi Wada. Reds are swinging some good bats right now. Jim has more on that when we return on Fox Sports Ohio.
Cubs here at Wrigley Field. I'm Jim Day. If you like offense, you've enjoyed watching the Reds play lately. Check out our Elk and Elk storylines coming into tonight's game, and you'll see that the Reds' bats have heated up. 10-plus hits in each of the last 5 games. That's the longest streak since late August, early September of 2013. And the last 5 games, a .319 team average, averaging 6.5 runs per game, and 10 home runs over that stretch. Ryan Price would like to keep that going, but Tom Brenneman, if they are to continue down that path, there'll be some different names that will have to provide some offense tonight.
Well, you're not lying about that, Jim Day. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup, and here are some of those names presented by Meyer. DeJesus Jr. with the injury to Phillips starts at second base. Votto at first, Frazier at third. Bruce in right, Pena catching. Chris Dominguez just brought up from the minor leagues. He'll play left field. Suarez replaces Cozart, and that's for the long haul, it appears. Lorenzen will bat 8th, and Negron for the injured Billy Hamilton in center. Tsuyoshi Wada makes his 5th start since they activated him. Began the year on the disabled list.
Veteran left-hander that the Cubs ended up signing to a minor league deal last year before spring training. Did a little minor league time before he was called up in June. Left-hander, not overpowering. He mixes in a lot of different pitches.
Steer right one. On the outside corner, says home plate umpire Ron Culpa, and we are underway. What a fine day DeJesus has proven to be. At least his first 4 games up with the Reds. Hit a big home run yesterday, already his 2nd since joining the club. 3 starts, 4 games overall for Ivan DeJesus Jr. 5 runs batted in just 13 trips to the plate. Wada threw the ball very well for the Cubs last season. He was part of their rotation for the better part of the last couple of months. Made 13 starts, had an ERA at 3.25. And since being activated, he has taken the spot of the one-time Red, who's now been banished to the bullpen, in Travis Wood.
Well, Wada's a veteran. He's 34 years old. He was originally signed to a major league contract with the Baltimore Orioles in 2011, December of 2011. And then 6 months later, he had Tommy John surgery. So he really never got going with the Orioles. They eventually released him, and the Cubs picked him up on a minor league deal. Not overpowering. You're going to see his fastball anywhere 89, 90 miles an hour. He throws a slider, curveball, changeup. But what hitters will tell you about Wada is that he can be very deceptive. The fastball, even though it only measures around 90 on the radar gun, it seems to get on you a little quicker than it looks.
Didn't miss by much. Now the Reds have scored in the first inning in 4 of their last 5 games. In fact, over that stretch, they matched the season high with 3. A couple of days later, they had 4, and then they had 4 runs in the first inning again yesterday. DeJesus gone on strikes to begin the night. Take a look at Chicago on defense, presented by Ford. Familiar names, Coughlin and Fowler. Junior Lake for the injured Jorge Soler. He's out with an ankle injury. Rizzo and Russell on the right side. Castro and the highly touted Chris Bryant on the left. And the former Diamondback in his first year as a Cub, Miguel Montero, hangs his signs for Wada. Here's Joey Votto. .299 batting average. At on-base percentage has leaped over the 400 mark. Just a couple of days ago had 3 home runs in 1 game. 3rd time in his career he's done it, matching Johnny Bench for the most such games in Reds history. And that one was roped right at the first baseman, Rizzo. Here comes our T-Mobile game changer. That is Todd Frazier. Chris, these numbers are just unbelievable. His overall season batting average has leaped some 40 points over these last couple of weeks.
It really is amazing. 13 games to be exact. 9 home runs. Make it 9 doubles and 4 home runs. And a force to be reckoned with right in the middle of that lineup. There's a bullet back up the middle, but they had him shaded that way, and that's Addison Russell, who throws out Frazier in a 1-2-3 opening frame for Wada.
Michael Lorenzen will try and answer when we return. Ohio brought to you by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy. Check out their award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Chicago Cubs 31 up, 26 down. Tied with Pittsburgh for second in the Central, 6.5 behind the front-running Cardinals. Joe Maddon's lineup: Fowler, Rizzo, Bryant, Montero, Castro, Coghlan, Lake, Wada, the pitcher, bats 8th. Joe Maddon's done that all year long, his first year in the National League. And Addison Russell bats 9th. Michael Lorenzen, his 9th game, his 7th as a starter, and Chrissy appears to be getting better and better.
Well, he does.
Every time out.
You know, he's got a repeatable delivery, and that's the one thing you look for when you're scouting a college player, because that'll get you to the big leagues in a hurry.
Now, the wind could be a factor here tonight. Dominguez is out there in left field, and he'll handle the fly ball. The wind is howling in off of Lake Michigan, blowing really in from the right field corner towards the third base bag. It will swirl around a lot. We're just hoping that some of the rain they're calling for here tonight will hold off for a while.
Well, it's a good night to pitch. I mean, when we first got to the ballpark this afternoon, the wind blowing straight in from center field. And you're always interested, you put a couple big scoreboards up. Will it affect the wind? Will it affect how outfielders have to play balls and so on? It'll take a while to figure that out. But I can tell you, as compared to some June days you get here where the wind's blowing out, this is a whole lot better night to pitch tonight.
0-1 on Anthony Rizzo. What a year this guy's having. We've talked so much, Chris, about which first baseman should be the starter for the National League in the All-Star game. Adrian Gonzalez was leading in the vote. The original results that were released, and more recently, Paul Goldschmidt of Arizona is having an MVP kind of year. That one lined into left center field, and it's off the ivy. And that will be a double for Anthony Rizzo. Now, there's no doubt Goldschmidt's having the best year of anybody probably in the league. Rizzo is starting to put up some pretty impressive numbers, too.
Well, when you start looking inside the numbers on Anthony Rizzo and really starting to dissect him, you realize how good a year he really is having. He has walked more than he has struck out, and he has power. And when you have that combination of forcing pitchers to come after you and then do some damage, you're really doing something. A lot of people around here, all they want to talk about is Chris Bryant, but Rizzo is clearly the best player on this club.
Well, here is the aforementioned Chris Bryant, the rookie phenom. All the talk in spring training about Would Bryant make the team? He led all players in Arizona and in Florida in home runs during spring training and Cactus League play. Did not make the team. Finally brought him up. And boy, the numbers are pretty impressive. 7 home runs and 34 runs batted in.
Well, I would think that both of these teams, the Cubs and the Reds, have to be very happy with the player that they selected in the first round in 2013. The Cubs selected the guy at the plate, Chris Bryant, and of course on the mound is the Reds' #1 selection, Michael Lorenzen. So anytime you get dividends, I mean, just a couple of years later from the draft, it's very unusual, and you've got 2 special players here.
Fastball at 95 miles per hour runs in on his hands, and of course the Cubs were drafting much higher than the Reds were that year.
Yeah, they took second in that year. The Cubs did.
And the Reds were coming off a year where they won 97 games in 2012, which determined their draft order in 2013.
Michael Lorenzen was the 38th player.
Sure. Two balls and 2 strikes, last of the first inning. No score. Rizzo with a 1-out double. And another foul ball off to the first base side. You know, look at Rizzo. Ranked 6th in the league in batting average. In total bases, Rizzo is 5th. He's behind Todd Frazier, who checks in 3rd there. Rizzo 4th in slugging percentage, 3rd in on-base percentage, but in every one of those categories, Paul Goldschmidt is ahead of Anthony Rizzo. Extended at bat here by Chris Bryant. And he draws a walk. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Boy, I mean, you know, half of these guys were starting for Louisville just a couple of weeks ago. Dominguez, now Negron, of course, has been a mainstay in Louisville, been with the big league club all year this year. Suarez, De Jesus, part of Louisville's team virtually this entire year. For Suarez, his major Reds debut tonight. Got a lot of playing time at shortstop with the Detroit Tigers a season ago. 2 on, 1 out. And it's ball 1 on the catcher Miguel Montero.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about baseball, Tom, we talk about it all the time. You don't play the game on paper. And to compete, all you really need is a pitcher having a good night. So you can play with a bunch of banged up players or guys that just got called up or guys you just pulled off the street. But if your pitcher goes out there and holds him down, you've got a chance to stay in the ball game and win it.
Now, the one chink in the armor so far of Lorenzen, you know, you look at his ERA, you look at his innings pitched to hits allowed. Those are all very good numbers. Opponents only batting .225 against him, but in 38 2/3 innings, he's walked now 23 batters. And he's gone 3-0 to Montero after walking Bryant.
I always got the feeling, and I think we broadcast so much together that you may agree that a lot of those walks for Lorenzen seem like they're 2 out, nobody on. He goes the first 2 guys out, and then he loses his concentration a little bit. It looked like he was really bearing down against Bryant, and he's let up a little bit here against Montero. Montero's a guy that can hurt you. Be very careful here.
Yes, he will swing 3-0. Maybe more so than any hitter I can remember in the National League. And we don't get to see him that much what we do now. But even with Arizona, I mean, it seems like every time this guy's 3-0, if it's near the strike zone, he is wailing.
Montero, the catcher in the #4 spot, exactly where Devin Mesoraco was penciled to hit for the Reds. Not often do you see your catcher batting for you.
3-1 pitch. Almost fell over. He swung so hard.
Get cheated.
Speaking of Mesoraco, he had to leave the game last night. And we're hoping that maybe it's just some stiffness in the hip after getting out there and playing for 3 consecutive days. We'll know a lot more in the coming days. Fly ball. Deep right center field. Negron looks up and it's gone. Chicago on Miguel Montero's 8th home run of this season.
There's only so many times you can go to the well, even if you do throw 95 and 96 miles an hour. He went down 3-0 through 2 fastballs right by Montero, and Montero's the one that makes the adjustment, takes the 3rd in a row right out the front door to center field. I mean, it's amazing, Tom. The more pitchers you see throwing in the mid-90s, the more hitters you see making the adjustment and turning 95 miles an hour into hitting speed.
For Montero, that's his 2nd consecutive game. He's clubbed a 3-run home run. The Cubs routed the Detroit Tigers last night after getting routed the night before. Starlin Castro, 268 batter, 4 home runs and 27 runs batted in. So it's the Reds for a change. You have to play a little bit of catch up here during this 4-game winning streak. They've been jumping on the opposition right from the get-go.
I got to tell you, I didn't think that I would see a home run to dead center field tonight. Montero crushed that ball. Although the wind now is not blowing anywhere near as hard as it did this afternoon when we got here.
Tell you one thing about this Cub team. I mean, they rebuilt this thing, you know, with a lot of their young players that the farm system has produced. Guys like Castro, Rizzo, Bryant. Their strike 3 called. Then they brought in from players from other organizations under the leadership, of course, of the longtime Boston GM, Theo Epstein. And their batters are showing a lot more patience. They're averaging almost exactly 4 pitches per plate appearance, which is best in the major leagues. That's ahead of the Boston Red Sox.
Unusual for a young team to excel in that particular category. It's usually young hitters are up there hacking early and often.
Chris Coghlan looks at a strike. His batting average at .235. He does have surprisingly 8 home runs, 18 runs batted in. Seems like every time the Reds see this guy, he's hitting rockets all over the field.
You know, the other thing that the Cubs have excelled in this year, and I don't know whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. I mean, they're ahead of the Reds by a few games in the standings now, but they seem to have taken on a different attitude with Joe Maddon at the helm. I mean, for instance, today, they did play a 6 o'clock game yesterday in Detroit. So they got into Chicago somewhat late, probably after midnight anyway, by the time everything got done, 2 a.m. But like he does often, batting practice was optional today. And let guys sleep in, take it easy a little bit. He does not want to wear his ball club out. And you talk to Cubs players that have never played for a guy like Maddon before, they're having some fun.
He's a leader. 3-0 at the end of 1. And in True HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices with MLB.TV Premium. Every night on every device, blackout and other restrictions do apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Reds behind 3-0 after the 3-run home run from that man, Cub catcher Miguel Montero. Jay Bruce to lead things off. Reds hit a couple of balls very hard in the first inning, but right at Cub defenders. Jay Bruce, first pitch swinging to open up the second inning. And that one's out of play over by the Cubs' third base side dugout. Jay has reached base in 21 of his last 23 games to the tune of a .291 batting average and an on-base percentage of over 400 over the last month. He's drawn 15 walks. Oh, 0-2 pitch. We'll do it again. Rather odd weekend schedule. In fact, very odd compared to what you would normally play when you come to Chicago for a 4-game weekend series. Here we have a night game on Thursday, late afternoon start tomorrow at 3, a game Saturday night locally at 6, and then a game Sunday night locally at 7, 8 o'clock Eastern. Strike 3 call to Bruce.
Well, I think, Tom, the only reason that there's not a night game tomorrow is because there's a law in Chicago that you're not allowed to have a night game on a Friday night. That's why they're playing that game 3 o'clock locally.
First pitch tonight, 61 degrees. I mean, it feels like a spring night or an autumn night. 2 nights ago over on the south side of town when the White Sox were here, it was 87 degrees. Ryan Pena had a marvelous day yesterday. 4 hits, matching a career high, knocked in a couple of runs. And once again, Pena, we've talked about it so frequently, for the second year in a row now, due to injuries, forced into regular playing time, and he has just been terrific. He's our IGS bringing the energy. 4 singles, 2 runs batted in, scored a run. 4 hits in a game for the first time since April of 2012. And he has a hit today.
You know, if you notice all of his hits, they're line drives, most of them. They're not up against the wall. Occasionally he's going to get one. He's going to hit one into the basket or off the wall. But he just keeps his hands back very nicely. And I still think it's very interesting that the grip that he holds the bat with, he's got a separation between his top hand and his bottom hand. And he's one of the only players in the big leagues I've ever seen do that. And he says it keeps him from rolling over on the ball. You don't see him roll over on it very much at all, which is maybe the number one thing hitters do other than flying open.
Chris Dominguez brought up earlier today from Louisville. Young man who had an outstanding spring. One of 4 non-roster players, in fact, to make the Reds opening day roster. He was playing a little bit of everywhere for the Bats. First base, third base, left field, right field. Had just 3 pinch hitting appearances for the Reds before he was optioned out to AAA.
Well, he told me before the ball game, Dominguez did, that he had been playing mostly third base. But he played a little bit everywhere in spring training, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Reds, are taking a shot at him up here right now. I would imagine that it's going to be, a rotation in left field until they decide maybe to do something else. Now, I think that
They were thinking about obviously having Devin Mesoraco up here sooner than later, but if it is a setback that he had last night to cause him to leave the ball game, then that throws a wrench into those plans.
2-2 on Dominguez. Strike 3 called on the inside corner. 3 strikeouts on the night for Waddle. 2 out in the inning.
Sneaky fast is about the way that you can describe Wada right now. He doesn't really have a lot of sink on that fastball, and Dominguez probably read that as a ball that was going to sink out of the zone.
Eugenio Suarez making his Reds debut here tonight. And you can get used to watching him play shortstop. 57 games at Louisville. .256 batter, had 9 doubles, 2 triples, 8 home runs, 25 runs batted in. All of his appearances for the Bats as their regular starting shortstop. The Reds are just looking at strike after strike after strike from Wada. Eight called strikes already in this game for the Cub left-hander. That one driven hard, but foul out of play. What did you see out of this young Venezuelan in spring training, Chris? You were there a lot.
Occasional pretty good pop. I mean, he's got good bat speed. He was a guy that, he's been experimenting back and forth with hitting left-handed and right-handed. Now he's down only to right-handed. I like the pop for a guy that doesn't seem like he's all that big. He's got quick, good bat speed. And one of the nicest young men that you will ever meet. I mean, outgoing, friendly, looks you right in the eye when he talks to you.
Fastball high. Suarez got 244 at-bats for the big league club, Detroit, last year. Made his major league debut. He made 85 starts, 81 of those at shortstop. He went from AA to AAA to the big leagues last season. Off the outside corner, pretty good eye right there. 3 balls and 2 strikes. See his numbers where he started April, May, and then early June at Louisville. Pena goes, and it's ball 4. And we know Michael Lorenzen can swing the bat a little bit now. He had 2 hits his last start and has 3 hits overall. Three hits and 14 trips for the former John Olerud winning collegian. That is an award given to a two-way player, position player and a pitcher.
Now, when you win the John Olerud Award, that doesn't mean you have to wear a helmet in the field, does it?
No, it does not. Not a bad idea, though.
But he did.
Yes, he did.
He was one of the rare guys that wore a helmet. Maybe he just didn't like taking his hat off. He just put his helmet on at the beginning of the game, and that was it. Until he took a shower.
That ball's hit hard into deep right center field. And this baby is up against the ivy, and 2 runs are going to score, and Lorenzen's on his way to third. How about that? A 2-run triple for Michael Lorenzen to make it a 1-run game.
Well, you see, all it takes is your pitcher having a good game. And he does, I'll tell you. Not much wind blowing right now, so it neither hurt nor helped this ball, but he hit it a ton. They were not giving him much respect. Dexter Fowler had to go a long way. The right fielder late comes over. It's going to be a lot of firsts in his career this year, but probably not the last triple you'll see him hit.
Right now, a chance to tie the game. for Christopher Negron. First pitch fastball is high. Negron has 10 hits in 73 at bats. A couple of runs batted in. Those are the first 2 RBIs. As Chris mentioned, the first triple for Lorenzen. He now has 3 hits in his last 4 at bats. It's the first triple by a Reds pitcher since 2013. It's Mike Leake. And all of a sudden, Wada, who struck out the first batter of the inning, he allowed a base hit to Pena, and then he struck out Dominguez. Suarez had a nice at bat, worked the count full, wound up drawing the walk before the Lorenzen 2-run triple. 3-0 on Negron. And there's ball 4. So that's a tight strike zone tonight on both sides. Lorenzen was not happy with some of the pitches that were called off the outside corner. He thought they were strikes in the first inning, especially the first 2 pitches in the at-bat to Miguel Montero that were on the inside corner. Well, here comes Ivan De Jesus Jr. We were just talking a couple of nights ago that his daddy, among the many teams he played for in his long major league career, one of them the Chicago Cubs, and was traded from the Cubs to the Phillies in the Ryne Sandberg Larry Boa deal. Ivan struck out swinging, leading off the game.
Kind of funny, when he was down in Louisville, he did not hit 1 home run all year long, and he was an everyday player. And in the course of a week, he's got 2.
You know, it's interesting. We talk all the time about where guys are drafted. You know, it's easy to forget because he's bounced around and very little playing time at the big league level. He was originally a 2nd-round draft choice, was De Jesus.
Out of, I believe, a military academy down in Puerto Rico.
The American Military Academy. 1-2 pitch. Tying run at third. Runner takes off first to second. Swung on and fouled out of play.
Well, that would explain why he answers every question that you ask him with "sir" at the end.
Gotta like that.
You better believe it, sir.
Well, his dad's an easy guy to like. Big smile on his face, very friendly, very outgoing.
Unless you had a pitch to him.
Probably
hated
right.
it.
Right. One-two pitch. Nope. Wada needed 10 pitches to get through the first inning. This will be his 32nd pitch in what has been so far a 2-run second. Reds hoping for more right here and right now. The 1-2.
Well, he struck out 2 of the first batters he faced in this inning.
You know, you go through games and you go through cycles, but doesn't it seem like a lot of games both ways for the Reds and the opposition, the games we've done lately, the 2-out walks are just killing pitchers? Saw a lot of it on the just completed homestand. That one's looped into short right field. Junior Lake will get there. But Michael Lorenzen taking matters into his own hands. He delivers a 2-out, 2-run triple. Cubs lead by a run.
I'm Jim Day. Boys Up in Stairs talked about Devin Mesoraco. Now he had a setback. Let's update you on Brandon Phillips and Billy Hamilton. Brandon Phillips, Brian Price says he wanted him to go through a complete day of taking ground balls and hitting BP before he's deemed ready to go. So tomorrow we'll see. Brian Price usually likes to give a guy an extra day. Of course, he's nursing that groin injury. Billy Hamilton, though, expect him back in the lineup tomorrow. This is the proverbial give him that extra day, nursing that wrist injury. He went through a session today, BP, and took outfield, etc. Looked very, very good. So 3 starters on the opening day roster, or the opening day starting lineup, are in the lineup tonight. Expect at least one of them back, at least the Reds hope, tomorrow.
All right, Jim Day, thank you very much. Latter third in the batting order for the Cubs here in the second inning. Chicago, a 3-run home run from Miguel Montero in the bottom of the first. The Reds scored twice on the triple by Lorenzen in the second. So a 1-run game. Junior Lake getting regular playing time now in right field after the injury to Jorge Soler. Hurt his ankle. They figure he'll be out 2.5, 3 weeks. Lake at 236. And a bouncing ball over the mound. De Jesus will throw him out. Well, Joe Madden, since coming over from the Rays, this is his first year as a skipper in the National League, has employed a strategy that Brian Price has gone with for the better part of 3 weeks. And that is starting the pitcher batting 8th in the batting order. Strike one. So it's Wada now and Russell next.
And he doesn't have the same justification for batting the pitcher 8th as Brian Price does. Brian Price did it initially because he wanted Billy Hamilton out of the #1 spot, but he still wanted speed near the top of the order, and the way to do that is to put him in the #9 hole. So Madden just kind of mixing things up here. Like the way it worked. Cubs went on a little bit of a run. 9 years as the Tampa Bay Rays manager. Was about 50 games over 500 during that time. Had an AL pennant one time. That was in 2008. Manager of the year 2 times.
Strike 3 to Wada, 2 away in the inning. That's a second strikeout for Lorenzen.
But the most interesting thing and amazing thing from my book on Joe Madden during his tenure down here in Tampa was the fact that they never had a very big payroll. They were always building from within, so they had a good farm system. And he got the most out of his players. He had 5 out of 9 years managing. He had 5 years where he had the Rays win 90 games or more
in that division.
And exactly. And 90 games will normally get you a playoff slot. Never made it really out of A-ball when he was a minor league catcher. Played football in college for Lafayette College in Pennsylvania.
Ground ball to short, and a nice quick 1-2-3 inning from Michael Lorenzen. Votto to lead it off. Reds down a run. We go to the 3rd.
Action in Cincinnati coming up on Sunday, July 12th. Tickets are available online at allstargame.com. And boy, are they dressing up the city of Cincinnati. You see now the downtown buildings adorned with Cincinnati Reds gear. Going to be a big show. The Queen City, first time since 1988.
That's why we keep saying our prayers, keep our fingers crossed about great weather during that All-Star weekend and week. So here we go in the third. Reds have Votto, Frazier, Bruce. They're hoping for more than that against Water. Down a run. Joey lined out to his counterpart his last time up. And now it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. A big 4-game weekend series starts tonight in St. Louis. Kansas City and the Cardinals. Royals beat them 2 out of 3 earlier this year in KC. Pirates will host the Phillies 4 games over the weekend. 2-2 on Joey Votto.
You know, you watch Watta's delivery, and you got to figure that little hesitation that he has right in the middle of the delivery as to the deception. Because he kind of hangs right there in the middle and then right there. And you know, not very many pitchers do that. Now, a lot of pitchers who come over from Japan seem to have a little bit of a hesitation, maybe more common over there. He had a big-time winning record when he was in Japan. 107 wins and something like 60 losses.
That ball is stung by Votto into deep left center field. That's off the ivy. This will be a 2-base hit for Votto, and he represents a tying run here in the third with a leadoff double. 12th 2-base hit.
Well, he has been up twice tonight, and he has just jumped all over it both times. Once right into the glove of the first baseman. I mean, look where that pitch is. That's normally a safe zone for a pitcher. You go down and away, you're thinking, well, you know, if I have to give him a base hit to left field, I give him a base hit to left field. Votto, however, wants to kill Ivy.
Well, that's where he hit one of his 3 home runs. That same kind of pitch you may remember the other night. When he drove it to the first row in left center field. So now Frazier, the team leader, with 37 batted in. Takes a strike. Todd hit the ball very hard back up through the middle his first time up. But Addison Russell, the Cubs second baseman. And look at the right side of their infield. You have Russell right next to the bag. And you have Rizzo almost halfway, well over a third of the way between first and second.
Well, too late now, and I guess the question is, and we're going to ask it all the time when this presents itself, if you're Todd Frazier, do you even consider laying a bunt down to the right side of the infield? You get the runner to third and get you to first base. But he's hot. We showed you how hot he was the last 13 ball games. I mean, just killing the ball.
He's called out on strikes. That's 3 pitches called out on strikes. Frazier didn't like it.
Well, Ron Coleman must feel like he's doing a perfect job tonight because he's got pitchers and batters complaining. I don't know if Frazier thought that was inside or high or high. He says high.
Well, Fox Track showed it high and in. Now Jay Bruce, Votto out there at second. One ball and 1 strike on Jay Bruce. 4 strikeouts in the game for Wada. You got Bruce looking, Dominguez looking, and Frazier looking. Well, it appears early on hitters better go up there swinging a bat tonight. Because at first it looked like you had to put it inside of a shoebox, and now all of a sudden the strike zone appears to be expanding a bit. Fastball off the outside corner will even things to Bruce at 2-2. A chilly night in Chicago. 2-2 pitch coming with a tying run at second base. Well, that'll advance a runner, but it'll also be the second out of the inning. So now you're leaning on Brian Pena for a 2-out knock to tie this thing up. Pena singled his first time up into center field. With all of this offense missing from the Reds lineup, guys like Marlon Byrd and Devin Mesoraco and Brandon Phillips and Billy Hamilton, the little things are always so important in major league games and leading to winning baseball. But this sort of Reds lineup is really going to have to do the little things to manufacture runs, and missing that chance after a leadoff double, of failing to not only get him in but advance the runner. Those will be key for the Reds while they ride out some of these injuries.
Well, maybe the little thing that we talked about earlier, and I wasn't suggesting that Todd Frazier bunt there, just posing a question, would that be something he considered? You look back on his record and you find out that he has only one bunt hit in his entire major league career. So maybe that's something he never even considered. Could be a different story if he's facing a real tough right-hander, you know, a guy, you know, Matt Harvey type pitcher. But a Jake Arrieta type pitcher, you know, that comes from the other way. But you got a left-hander throwing fairly straight 90 miles an hour. You're thinking, hey, I'm a good matchup right here for him. Little backdoor slider. Boy, that's a great pitch if you can control that part of the zone with that pitch. Hitter gives up on it, comes back out over the corner.
Tying run is Votto at third with 2 away here in the third. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Brian Pena. We'll do it again. Four games here in Chicago, and then the Reds will play 2-2 home and home against the Detroit Tigers. Miguel Cabrera coming to Cincinnati. He'll be in town Wednesday and Thursday nights. Again, a 2-2 on Brian Pena. Going back to Tuesday night, Brian Pena has a base hit in each of his last 7 plate appearances, including the base hit in the second inning tonight. Trying to make it 8 out of 8 and tie this baby up. Wada ready. Pause. Check of the runner and the pitch. Another foul ball. 3 in a row by Brian. Boy, those pitches are piling up for Wada. 64 of them here in the third. This will be the 8th pitch in this at bat. Pena v. Wada with a tying run 90 feet away and 2 out. There'll be a 9th. Grounded to Castro. And the inning is over. Reds get a leadoff double and waste the leadoff double. Middle of the third, a 3-2 Cubs lead. This is perhaps their biggest game in their early round in their quest for a third World Cup title. The U.S. women will battle Sweden at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on your local Fox affiliate. So for those of us in Greater Cincinnati, that's Channel 19. But check in your area all over Reds country. You can catch the whole tournament streaming live on Fox Sports Go. The United States winning impressively over Australia in their opening game. Wish them well. Big time. Top of the order for the Cubs against Michael Lorenzen, Dexter Fowler, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant. Cubs got a 3-run home run by Miguel Montero in the opening frame. Lorenzen himself delivered a 2-run triple, getting the Reds on the board. And it's ball 1 to Fowler, flied out to Dominguez in left, leading off the Cub first inning. Towering drive into deep right field. Bruce stands at the well and watches it go. Number 7 for Fowler. 4-2 Cubs.
Yeah, and for Michael Lorenzen, that's the one statistic other than the base on balls time we talked about earlier that kind of jumps out at you, is the number of long balls that he has given up so far. That is 8 home runs given up by Lorenzen in just about 40 innings. No, he's got to figure out how to keep that ball down a little bit. Or when you do come up, you don't come to the waist, you come up to the letters.
This is the most runs that Lorenzen has allowed in a game in his very young major league career. He had only given up 3 twice. One in a relief stint, the other in his major league debut against Milwaukee. And then you follow the home run with a 4-pitch walk.
Well, for a young pitcher especially, happens almost all the time. It happens a lot anyway. You know, the one thing that Lorenzen will learn over the years, and some guys learn it faster than others. You know how Johnny Cueto pitches in his ball game, 91, 92 miles an hour. Then when he needs 95, he's got it. Well, if you watch Lorenzen, every one of his fastballs is right almost at 95 miles an hour. And big league hitters now, they get locked in on that.
Quickly 0-2. Again at 95. To Chris Bryant.
Seven home runs already for Bryant. Of course, he's a rookie this year. Controversy surrounded him in spring training because he did not make the ball club coming out of spring. He led everybody in home runs. So there were people second guessing whether he would be too tall to play third base. I don't hear much of that anymore.
Well, you know what's interesting is some of the people that follow the Cubs regularly will tell you that as Bryant has gone swinging, that the Cubs were giving serious consideration. Remember this time last year, in September last year, one of their big prospects is Javier Baez, second baseman. And apparently he was tearing it up down in the minor leagues. And if you believe some of the Cubs people, as early as just a few days ago, they were contemplating bringing Baez up, moving Addison Russell over to third base, and putting Bryant into left field, where they moved him in spring training after he hurt his shoulder. But then Baez broke his finger, and he's going to miss anywhere from 6 to 7 weeks. For Addison Russell, that would mean a third position in the last, 6 months? He's a shortstop by trade, playing second base now. Cubs have action in their bullpen. It's a man that Water replaced in the starting rotation. The one-time Red, left-hander Travis Wood is in there a strike.
And he's warming up down there like he's coming into the ballgame. And he's cutting it loose.
Montero, I mean, boy, does he take a rip. He hadn't changed a lick.
That's a showcase swing right there.
There's no doubt.
I mean,
foul tipped that one into the mitt of Pena. Back-to-back strikeouts, 2 away in the inning.
Yeah, good back-to-back pitches there for Michael Lorenzen. Pitch before that was a breaking ball about in the mid-80s. This one in the mid-90s, and it goes for a strikeout. We'll call it our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce.
That'll bring up Starlin Castro. He was called out on strikes his first time up. That one thrown all the way to backstop. And will move Rizzo into scoring position on the wild pitch. Big out here for Lorenzen and the Reds. They're already down a pair. They fell behind 3-0. Got it to 1 before the home run to lead off this third by Fowler. Our old buddy Rosie, Bob Rosenberg, the official scorer, going all the way back to when Babe Ruth pointed to call his home run here at Wrigley Field. And everybody that comes here to Wrigley for any length of time will imitate him calling wild pitch. So he had to do it twice just for all of us back into Chicago. Like called on a fastball at 95. 2-2 on Castro. Anthony Rizzo, the runner out at second base. 2 away, 2 balls, 2 strikes. And fastball misses high and wide, running the count full. This will be Lorenzen's 60th pitch of the game. He's 1-2, fan 4. And that is a fair ball. Alertly, Pena picked it up before it went foul. That's well done by Brian Pena. That ball was maybe an inch with the backspin of coming into foul territory. Baseball night in America on your local Fox affiliate. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, only on Fox. Well, despite the fact that Travis Wood is throwing and still throwing in the Cub bullpen, they're going to stick with Tsuyoshi Wada for at least to begin this 4th inning. He delivers a breaking ball to Chris Dominguez, who struck out looking his first time up. Wada's fan 4, walked 2, allowed the 2 runs on 3 hits. And his team has given him a 4-2 lead at the end of 3. Dominguez is truly the definition of a hit or miss guy. When he hits him, he can hit him as far and as hard as anybody around, but he also swings and misses a lot. You know, perhaps the Reds were looking at this move when they made a roster move as leaning towards experience. You know, the one guy who is still so young and figures to be a part of the Reds' future is Yorman Rodriguez. And he was an option down there at AAA. They elected to go with the veteran. And I say veteran, he's just been around baseball longer. Hadn't spent a ton of time in the big leagues. Dominguez. Here's a 2-2 pitch. Wada wanted that call, didn't get it.
Yeah, and I think that Dominguez was hoping it wasn't going to be strike called 3 again.
Here's a payoff pitch. That ball is blasted, and that's what we're talking about from Dominguez. If he runs into one, he can hit him a long way, and it's a 1-run game. So welcome to Cincinnati. Chris Dominguez.
That was a no-doubter. I mean, you talk about a line drive that got out of here. One extra pitch to stay alive in the at-bat, and Chris Dominguez takes advantage of it.
And that is all for Wada.
That's a no-stride ball that he hits right on the button, about 380.
3+ innings for Wada, and Joe Madden gives him the hook in favor of Travis Wood. So the Reds were down 3-0. They made it 3-2. They fall behind 4-2, and now it's 4-3. After the home run by Dominguez, this will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. We're back in a moment. Travis Wood comes on for Shiyoshi Wada. And here's Suarez. He takes up and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. We've seen plenty of this guy.
Well, mostly as a starter, too. In fact, he started the first 7 games that he was in this year until he went through a 3-game run there where he gave up 15 runs in 3 ball games, and they sent him out to the bullpen. I imagine it may be a back and forth between Wada and Wood, depending on who gets hot, if one of them does get hot.
Eugenio Suarez walked and scored on the 2-run triple by Lorenzen. And fastball is low and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The home run ball is something that has done Wood in this year. Fastball is relatively straight. 44 innings. He's given up 10 long balls.
This one lifted into short right center field. And Fowler the call and the catch for out number 1. Coming up later on, it'll be our Miller time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. And here comes Lorenzen, who hammered one off the right center field wall. His first 2 runs batted in as a major leaguer, and it went for a triple. Another first. For Chris Dominguez, he has 2 hits as a major leaguer. 2 home runs.
Good ratio.
Not bad. And he's got some serious pop. There's no debate about that. Just a little more consistency of putting it in play has prevented him from perhaps getting a chance, because he's put up really good numbers, especially last year in the minor leagues. He was heartbroken, as you were, as was your son, when his alma mater, the Louisville Cardinals, could not close out that super regional battle with Cal State Fullerton. What a killer game, an extra inning game in the third and decisive game. You and I had that one on in the booth the other night.
Really a great series. It was a best of three, went all the way down the last game. The Cardinals they came within one pitch of winning that ball game and ended up losing it. Nice game by Cal State Fullerton, which, by the way, is where Michael Lorenzen went to school.
Popped up. Coughlin looked like he almost tripped. Now Negron. Wood has come on to retire Suarez and Lorenzen. Negron walked his first time up. And this one by the mound, but right behind him is Russell to gobble it up. And Wood retires 3 in a row. But a home run by Dominguez brings the Reds for a second time within a run.
And the Reds kept it in the family, at least for a couple of picks. Brantley Bell was the 11th round pick. He's the son of Reds bench coach Jay Bell, and Eli Marrero was drafted in the 29th round, son of Daytona Tortugas coach Eli Marrero. Talked to Jay Bell, and he was one proud papa.
To have the opportunity to have a son drafted to an organization that you have a great deal of familiarity with, as well as a great deal of knowledge about the people that he's going to be working directly with is really special.
And further talking to Jay Bell, a lot of dads and particularly guys in the game of baseball might shy away from having their son in the same organization. But he told me that before Jay Bell's dad died, he told Jay that one of his greatest thrills was to work alongside Jay's brother. They both worked in real estate. So Jay's brother and their father worked in real estate together, and right before he died, he said it was one of the greatest thrills of his life. And Jay really put this situation to that situation. That if, who knows what's going to happen in Major League Baseball, but if he's still with the Reds in spring training, to work alongside his son is an absolute dream come true.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, Jim, I knew Jay Bell's father, and you talk about one terrific guy. So easy going. Jay grew up down the panhandle of Florida, and boy, his dad was just a wonderful guy. And, you know, his son, who just was drafted, when Jay was playing for the Diamondbacks and I was working there, he was one of those kids. And Lord knows in Cincinnati, we've seen a ton of them through the years. I mean, one right after the other, sons of Major League players that end up making it in professional baseball, not always in major leagues, but pro ball, and his son was running around there every day. Can't believe how time goes by.
You know, I asked Jay what advice was he going to give to Brantley. And, of course, what they do first is they get everybody signed. Then they send them down to Arizona for physicals. And that's where Dr. Tim Kremchuk will be all weekend. Then they'll start sending those guys out to different places. The majority of the draftees from this year will go to Billings. Some will stay in Arizona. Maybe some others will go to some other spots. I said, so what advice are you going to give Brantley? And he said, I'm going to tell him to enjoy every day in rookie ball, because you never know how long it's going to last. Don't fight it. Enjoy it. Work hard.
Pretty nifty breaking ball right there. Clearly, Junior Lake was not looking for that. 2-2 to count. I may have hung a little bit.
Yeah, that was even a hanger variety. I mean, he is a guy that he don't look for that breaking ball very often.
No. That was a better.
And that's a good rule of thumb for a pitcher. If you throw a bad pitch, whether it's a fastball or a breaking ball, you can come back with the next one, same pitch. But if you throw your best one, why try to come back with one that is even better? The odds are that you're either going to hang it or you're going to bounce it. So that's when you go to a different type of pitch. Don't improve on perfection.
Well, we know Travis Wood can swing the bat a little bit. He's getting his first at bat of the night since taking over in the top of this fourth inning for the starter, Wada. Three-run home run for the Cubs in the first. Lorenzen had a perfect second. A home run to start the third, followed by a walk. And now he's retired the first two here in the fourth. Four runs, 3 hits for Chicago, 3 runs and 4 hits for the Reds in the opener of 4. Pena finds a baseball, and a short hop throw to Votto snatches it cleanly in a perfect fourth. That is 6 for Michael Lorenzen. Top of the order coming up. you by your local Ford dealer. Ford goes further. By Meyer. Find more for a healthier you at Meyer. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America, which they were named again 2 days ago. We wish them well in doing their wonderful work over at Cincinnati Children's. We are in the windy city. Not so windy right now. It was earlier this afternoon. It is chilly. Although those guys were thinking it would be summertime. Temperatures in the 50s.
A lot of Reds fans coming up this weekend. I mean, you know, this is always a place where Reds fans travel. First thing they do when they look at the schedules are the Reds playing in Chicago on a weekend after school is out. You brought your family up here this weekend.
Well, part of it. Yes. Me and my main man Lukey made the drive up today. Mom will be joining us while Sis is elsewhere.
You didn't meet any of the local law enforcement on the way up, did you?
No.
Need me to get back up there?
But I always salute them as I fly right by. Isn't there a strike?
I gotta imagine that you're running out of points.
No. I don't get as many tickets as you. Come on, man. I mean, come on. 1-2 on Ivan De Jesus Jr. That's the old me.
You know what? I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and we all said that before, though. You know, my son in the car today, I've got to be a special.
Did you see those Eat a Stuckey signs?
In fact, I did. 2-2 the count. You and that other heathen Ed Shepard. The rest of the world saw the Stuckey's next exit. For the rest of the world that was in that car, who knows what they saw. Stuckey's one of the great places in America. All across the country when you're driving. That ball is lined into right center field, a hit. Over to cut it off is Link. And the Reds have the tying run aboard on a base hit by Ivan De Jesus Jr. to begin this 5th inning.
He's got a nice short approach to the ball, doesn't he?
It's been impressive. You said it the other day. He was really impressive in spring training.
He was. He came over to the Reds late in the spring. He's been with a number of different organizations, and he's never really either had the opportunity or got hot at the right time. He's getting a chance to play, and he's taking the most of it right here.
Now Joey. He lined out to Rizzo his first time up. He lined one into the ivy for a double in the 3rd. That was a missed chance for the Reds in that inning. Had a leadoff double by Votto, and he wound up being stranded at 3rd base. Two balls and a strike. De Jesus has never been a big stolen base guy. Early in his career, he had seasons of 16, 11, 16, but not much since. Wood will take the out at first. And advancing in a scoring position is De Jesus. 1 out. So now a big chance for Frazier, who hit the ball hard but right at Addison Russell his first time up. Then after a Votto double to start the 3rd, Frazier struck out. Of course, the Reds for the last number of years have dominated in every form or fashion the Chicago Cubs. That is until this year. Reds have work to do if they're going to continue this season series march, victorious march against the Cubs. They have won every one of them starting in 2010. But so far this year, The Cubs have won 4 of the 5 games. They had one of them, you may remember, rained out, which they will make up later this summer in Cincinnati. Look at those numbers for the Reds. 4th most wins by a team against any other opponent in baseball since 2010. Frazier, a lazy fly ball to right. Tagging DeJesus, he'll stay put. Blake with a very strong arm. 2 out in the inning.
And of course, when you look at that record of years past, they were the Cubs, but there's not a lot of commonality between those teams, at least from a roster standpoint, and what you're seeing on the field right now. I mean, this is almost a complete makeover. Those years, Anthony Rizzo may have been playing first base, but he was a first or second year player. He's certainly come into his own now. Pitching staff is almost completely different.
Yeah, the only other position player besides Rizzo is Castro.
Yeah.
That's it. Codlin's a guy they brought in at the end of last year. That throw hits DeJesus and then ricochets right into the bare hand of Addison Russell. They brought in Fowler this year. Blake's been up and down, part-time player. Bryant brand new, Russell brand new, Montero brand new.
I would imagine, though, somewhere down the line that the Cubs are looking for another starting pitcher. They really believe that this team can make a run this year. They're probably out in the marketplace right now. Taking a look around, we're seeing a lot of teams beginning to send scouts around.
One ball and 1 strike. On the outside corner strike.
Tough pitch there.
Tying run at second base. 2 outs in the inning, 1 and 2 on Jay Bruce. That's off the outside corner, try to go there once more. Grimm ready in the Chicago bullpen. 2 and 2 to Bruce. Ball 3. So now a chance for Jay Bruce to try and get DeJesus in and tie this baby up. They have struck out and bounced out to Rizzo at first base, 0 for 2. Called out on strikes again. Second time tonight. Middle of the 5th, Cubs have a 4-3 lead. Shamrock the Ballpark night in honor of Irish Heritage Night. Enjoy pregame activities and ceremonies. Stick around after the game for a big Fireworks Friday show presented by Jeff Weiler Automotive Family. 513-381-REDS or log on to Reds.com/tickets. Marlins in town that weekend. For Saturday, we'll have the bobblehead giveaway. Reds fans rolling in for this Thursday night game. As Chris mentioned, we'll see a pile of them starting to come in here for that 3 o'clock start tomorrow and right on through the weekend. Reds down a run. Michael Lorenzen to face 9-1-2 in the Chicago batting order. That means Russell, Fowler, Rizzo. The home run ball has hurt Michael tonight. A 3-run blast in the first inning by Montero. And then a solo home run by Fowler leading off the Cub third.
And they both came on fastballs that were left up and out over the zone. Michael seems to have gotten a little bit better feel of his breaking ball the last couple of innings.
Base hit through the hole in the left field by Addison Russell.
Russell was one of those can't-miss prospects coming up through the Cubs organization. And you got to figure that, you know, when you're a can't-miss prospect like Russell was, you hit at every level. You're wowing scouts at every level. When he gets to the big leagues, he's batting 9th.
Russell only 1 stolen base. He's been thrown out 3 times. Fowler is flying to left and homer to right. That one missed badly. Pena was set up outside. And that pitch missed off the plate in. Cubs giving their first look at this Reds rookie right-hander. Time called and granted. First 4 in the Cub lineup have done exclusively, until that hit by Russell a moment ago, all of the damage, certainly all of the major damage. First 4 hitters in their lineup, a combined 3 for 6, 2 walks, 2 home runs, 4 runs, 4 batted in. And now 3-0 on Fowler. Now that is not a 3-0 hack.
No, I'm surprised they're letting everybody, I guess, hack if they want to go on 3-0. I mean, one thing you're pretty much guaranteed of getting is a fastball.
That's a good lead over there.
With nobody out, I think that with 2 out, nobody on, you go 3-0 count. Go ahead and let it rip. With nobody out and a man on base, you're trying to build a big inning here.
They threw him a 3-1 breaking ball there. Got him to pull it foul.
So the old question is, will you throw on 3-2, or on 3-2 what you threw on 3-1? At least it puts a little bit of doubt in the mind of the hitter.
Can ill afford a walk here. If he earns his way on, he earns his way on, but you just can't walk him with the guys that are coming up next. You got Rizzo, then Bryant, then Montero after a leadoff single from Russell. And comes right back with 3 consecutive strikes. And this will be a pop-up to Dominguez. Well done there by Lorenzen. After falling behind 3-0. Now he'll turn his attention to Rizzo. It's a big inning here now for Lorenzen. You find a way to get through this group that's really hurt you tonight. Your team down a run. Wouldn't have to face this same group again for at least a couple of innings. Theoretical. Strike one on Rizzo, who's doubled, scored, drawn a walk. .97 on that fastball, nothing at 2.
Yeah, the first was at 96. I think he's reaching back for a little bit more because the guy in the batter's box is the Cubs' best hitter, and he recognizes that. Trying to maybe go up the ladder. That's where Pena seems to want it.
Only in the bottom of the 5th, 1 on, 1 out. Chicago a 4-3 lead. Came back 96 again with a fastball and missed. One-two pitch and hit him with a fastball.
Yeah, he's trying to come inside right here, as you see, and it's a tough pitch to get in there with a guy who's fairly up on the dish. But I'd rather see him miss inside right there to Rizzo anytime. Much better than leaving that ball out over the plate and letting Rizzo hit it into the seats.
Boy, it's so interesting how one pitch not only changes the complexion of an inning, but changes perhaps a manager's thinking. Lorenzen allowed a leadoff single, got an out, jumped ahead of Rizzo, throwing harder than we've seen him all night long, and no sooner did that ball hit him in the right elbow, the bullpen springs to life. Burke Badenhop beginning to get loose. For Rizzo, that's the 14th time he's been hit by a pitch this year, most in the major leagues. 1-0 to Bryant.
He's right on the dish, Rizzo is, and he doesn't give in. And that combination will get you hit. I mean, if you've got a lot of power and you like to get your arms extended, and every hitter does, they try to pitch you inside and you don't move, you're going to get hit.
1 ball and 1 strike. He's paying a lot of attention at this Addison Russell, and he's not been running at all.
I get the feeling, though, that those throwovers to first base are probably called from the bench. Second base may be a different deal.
Big at bat here for Lorenzen and the Reds. Down a run, but Chicago threatening with 2 on and 1 out. High pop up, out of play. See, when Bryant's tearing it up, you can make the argument since they brought him to the major leagues. As he goes, so do the Cubs. Tearing it up in the wins, and very quiet, and almost the same number of games when they lose. 2-2 pitch. Just off the corner. And now a full count. That is the area where the umpire has not given pitches the entire night. To a right-handed batter on the outside corner. To the pitcher.
To me, Tom, it seems like Lorenzen is throwing the ball where Pena is. And sometimes, I know Brian asks all the pitchers where he wants them. Do you want us way outside? Do you want me to move a lot? But Brian is one of those catchers that really likes to exaggerate where he sets up. And sometimes when you can hold the mitt right in front of you and you hit that mitt and it's a ball, and you may want to move your whole body a little bit because the pitcher has a tendency to throw to the body of the catcher.
Hammered down the line. That'll bring in 1 run. That'll send Rizzo on to third. And the Cubs lead is back to 2.
Kind of like Chris Dominguez, who had a very close pitch called, a ball went in his favor. Same thing goes right here. He waits it out, Bryant does, and puts a very sweet swing on that line drive.
Well, they're more than likely going to intentionally walk Montero here to load the bases. Yep. For Starlin Castro. You know, it's funny that the more and more, especially with young pitchers, and you and I have talked about this. We've talked about it more later in games from bullpen guys. But I tell you, Chris, the more the years go by, when pitchers are getting to 3 balls in a count against good hitters, and that pitcher knows or the hitter knows they have to throw a strike, and unless you're a guy that's been around for a long time, or you know you can throw that slider or a changeup on a 3-2 pitch, have confidence in it. If you're throwing fastballs, if you get to 3 balls in a count, you are in big trouble.
Well, for a number of reasons. Yeah. One is that you've already shown him 3 pitches at least in the at bat. Sure. So he measures every release and he gets more familiar with it. And the other is the fact that the hitter can be a lot more aggressive on that.
So after the intentional walk, that is all for Lorenzen. He goes 4 1/3 innings. Allows 5 hits. He walks 2. Hits a batter. Strikes out 6. It was an every other inning kind of night for Lorenzen. 3 runs in the first, a perfect second. A run in the third, a perfect fourth. And leaves with them loaded and a run home here in the 5th. Back in a moment. Cubs have them loaded. They have a 2-run lead with 1 out. And on to face Starlin Castro. First pitch swinging. On the first pitch delivered by Reds reliever right-hander Burke Badenhop.
Badenhop's in there after they walk the batter to load the bases. And if he is, according to his normal self, will get a ground ball, the Reds will hopefully at somebody to get out of the inning.
bases loaded situations have not been kind to this first year Reds right-hander so far this season. They're not afraid to bring him in these situations because of what Chris just mentioned, the fact that he does get guys to hit it on the ground. He's fallen now behind 2-1 on Starlin Castro. Rizzo, Bryant, Montero, third, second, and first. Castro, a big deep breath, frustrated by that swing and a miss. Badenhop could use one more of those. 2-2 pitch. Got him. Foul tipped into the mid of Pena. That's a big out for Bert Badenhop with one more to go.
Boy, it sure is. I mean, he went back-to-back fastballs, and that one seemingly just swung right through by Starlin Castro.
So here's Coghlan, who's bounced to the mound and grounded out to second base. Bases loaded, 2 away, ball 1 outside. Well, you find a way to take care of Coghlan, you're still very much in this thing. Reds are down 2 and a long way to go. Out in front of the plate, Pena. Oh boy! Whiffed on the ball and the run scores.
Took his eye off it.
Coghlan can run and Pena do it. That's just bad luck.
A lot of times when the ball is still moving, the fielder will kind of scoop it with his glove, but that time he circles it and just couldn't get it.
That is an error charge to Pena. Boy, Badenhop did his job. Struck out the first guy, and that should have been the final out of the inning, and now he has to turn his attention to Junior Lake. They're still loaded. 2 runs home in the Chicago fifth to take a 1-run lead to a 3-run differential. Nothing in 2 on Junior Lake. That is the first error this entire season made by a Reds catcher. Burke ahead, no balls and 2 strikes. Bases loaded, 2 are out. 0-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Badenhop did a really nice job right there. Really nice job. Came in with the bases loaded. Allowed the 1 run on an error. It's a 3-run game. Montero, home run number 8, 3-0 Chicago. But Michael Lorenzen in the very next half inning. First 2 RBIs of his career on his first career triple to make it a 1-run game. Then the leadoff man in the third, Dexter Fowler, stretched the lead to a pair with a home run to the seats and right. But Dominguez led off the 4th inning with a home run to left field, just called up today to make it a 1-run game again. That was until a double by Bryant, an error by the Reds defensively allowed 2 to score in the Cub 5th. So 6 runs, 5 hits for Chicago, 3 runs, 5 hits for the Reds, but we still have a ways to go. Only the top of the 6th inning. Now, Travis Wood is a guy who has been beaten around badly. Lost a spot in the rotation. But for whatever reason, now he doesn't have a lot of wins, but he has really pitched some good games against his former team.
You're right. And it could be because he's got a little extra motivation going, or he knows them. Maybe confident that a certain pitches work. He's not been touched up all that much as a reliever. And he was taken out of the starting rotation after his start on May the 14th. Well, about a month now he's been sitting down in that bullpen.
Ryan Pena, Dominguez, and Suarez in a pinch hitter for Badenham. 2-1 to Bryant. And a pop up into foul territory over near the Reds bullpen. Rizzo squeezes it tightly, 1 away.
You know, I still like the configuration of Wrigley Field with the bullpens right on the playing field.
Yep.
I don't know why. It just gives the fans something else to look at.
Well, right now they're watching Joe Madden come get Travis Wood. What a job he did. 2 1/3 innings of shutout baseball. 1 out, nobody on. Reds batting in the 6th, trailing by 3. We'll be back in a moment. One out, nobody on. Reds trailing 6-3 here in the 6th inning. And the Cubs bring on their second reliever, 3rd pitcher overall tonight, right-hander Justin Grimm. He's made 15 appearances since he was brought up off the disabled list on May the 6th. You see 20 strikeouts in 12 2/3 innings. Also has 7 walks in those 12 innings.
A lot of games last year for the Cubs. 73 of them.
Tell you what now, you start looking up and down most of this Cub bullpen, and you can understand why. They're 15-10 in these 1-run games this year. They've got some guys that are dealing down there.
Yeah, but their closer situation is a little bit iffy right now. In fact, it's kind of up in the air. It's almost closer by decision or by committee. Matt was asked about that, I guess, after the game yesterday, and then over the last week or so, he's been asked about it all the time. And he said, you know, it must be this millennial generation that wants everything defined. You know, I just tell those guys out there, how about being ready to pitch any time in the last 3 innings?
Well, that's the same philosophy that Don Zimmer came under tremendous fire after having success here, of course, and winning a divisional title in 1989. Rizzo again into foul territory for the second time in this inning, 2 out. And, you know, the quote by Zimmer, and he wasn't the first guy to say it. You know, hey, look, your role, what is your role? Zimmer was asked about using that word, the role of guys in the bullpen. And he said, well, your role is to get people out when I call you out of the bullpen. And, you know, a little over a week ago when the Cubs were playing the Nationals, Rondon, their closer, was having, you know, walked the batter, and Joe Maddon said, that's it. And he brought in Pedro Strop to close the game. He's used Jason Mott to close lately. As Grimm retires Dominguez and Suarez. Reds down by 3 after 5.5.
Take on the Miami Marlins and Giancarlo Stanton at Great American Ballpark. As part of Super Saturdays, the first 25,000 fans in attendance will receive a Brandon Phillips bobblehead presented by Fox Sports Ohio. So for tickets, 513-381-REDS. Visit Kroger locations or, of course, reds.com/tickets. Brandon Phillips bobblehead day.
Be a big day. I was just bragging about your alma mater a minute ago. I'll fill you in on that just in between innings here. As Mike Baxter will come on and bat for Grimm, and you know, like Travis Wood, Grimm comes out of that bullpen and does his job. He faced 2 batters, retired them both. So apparently they have, you know, they have the big 7th inning stretch here every night in honor of the late great Harry Carey, and there's about, I don't know, 15 young men sitting back in the media dining room waiting for the middle of the 7th inning that are part of a big contingent of U.S. swimmers.
Oh.
So they were sitting in there, and I very loudly, of course, after a couple of them walked over and said hello, I said, hey, anybody here from St. X High School? There's a ground ball down to first base. And they all had this big smile on their face, and they're like, no. And I'm like, big league program, though, right, boys? They all got this big grin on their face because they all, in the swimming world, St. X, no matter where you go, And I had a woman tell me this from Stanford University a number of years ago. She asked me out of the blue one day, she says, what is in the water at St. X High School in Cincinnati, Ohio?
Fast swimmers.
That's what I said. Really good swimmers. And these guys were all, I said, big league program, am I right, boys? And they all back there smiling. They're like, big league program.
I'm glad you were taking the torch.
Hey, brother, I'm always talking up Cincinnati. No matter what part of town it's in.
Any of the 7 hills.
You better believe
Ready to
it.
claim.
Now,
what are they doing?
how many they won? Like 30-something state championships. I mean, it's outrageous. And, you know, how many in a row? It's just incredible. It's like among the very, very best in all of America. Maybe the best. Well, they were talking about the possibility of rain. And is that a light shower? Yep, light shower beginning to fall here now. So light it's sort of hard to tell, but we're only in the bottom of the 6th inning. Yeah, they have Connor Dwyer and Cullen Jones, members of the USA Swimming Men's National Team. Both took gold medals during the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. Wow. Of course, we had a couple of Cincinnatians on that team, too. There's a fly ball on the right. And Bruce over to get it. 2 away for Badenham. Well, it's no wonder they have Connor Dwyer here. He is a native of nearby Winnetka. That's up in the northern suburbs. Cullen Jones is a native of New York City. So there you have it. 2 down for Dexter Fowler. Badenham throwing the ball very well tonight. I mean, he walked in under nearly the most difficult circumstances a pitch can enter a game. I say nearly because there was 1 out. Worst case scenarios, bases juiced, nobody out. But he struck out Starlin Castro, and he had Cogman on a little tapper out in front of the plate. And in his haste to pick it up, Brian Pena committed his first error of the year, which allowed a run to score. Now Badenham's retired the first 2 here in the bottom of the 6th.
It's like a little nervous Jervis out there, isn't he? He's got a lot of different movements. He's always wiping his hand off, picking up the rosin, shaking his body a little bit here and there. Even gives his glove a little shake as he comes to the set position.
Ball 4 to Dexter Fowler, and the inning will continue for Anthony Rizzo.
Fowler has 11 stolen bases. I don't know if they would run right here or not, but if he gets thrown out, worst case scenarios, you lead the inning off of Rizzo.
We were talking about what kind of a year Rizzo is putting together. You look at on-base percentage. Gets this ball hard. And Bruce, a nice leaping catch to take away extra bases and a run. One man left. We go to the 7th. The Reds are down by 3.
Fox Sports Ohio for a full recap, analysis, and interviews following Game 4 of the NBA Finals between the Cavs and Warriors. Cavs Live hits the air right after the final buzzer as the Cavs continue their quest for their first NBA championship. I'm Jim Day. We told you before that Christopher Negron, who lives in the Bay Area of California, is a major Golden State Warriors fan. In fact, check out this picture. This is not an off day. This was actually taken on the road where Christopher Negron, sporting a Chris Mullin jersey and a foam finger, 3 fingers for a team that shoots a lot of threes. He not only wears that on games, but he wore that on the plane, the Reds team plane. Mullin jersey and the full foam fingers, keeping track of that game, and that game going on right now. And I'm sure he has no idea what's going on. You bet your life when he gets to the clubhouse, he'll be checking in on that score.
I thought we had a dress code on those planes.
You know what? He actually asked Gary Wayhoff and he asked manager Brian Price if it was okay if he wore that jersey on the plane. And Brian Price, who indeed is also a major Golden State Warriors fan, gave him the okay to do so.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're asking one Northern California guy asking another Northern California guy if it's all right.
Correct.
Well, you got to know when to pick your spots.
No question about it.
Brennan Bosch pops up.
Not only is Christopher Negron from Northern California, but he's from wine country. Up in Vacaville.
Well, you know all about that. Cruising around there in the offseason.
What would make you say that?
Did you go there last offseason or not?
No.
Oh, I thought you did. I beg your pardon. Oh, I forgot they don't have any vineyards in Hawaii. I must be getting the two confused. I'm sorry. There's a foul ball out of play. It's starting to rain, as you can see now, a little harder. 35,031 here tonight. And for those of you wondering, maybe some of you have just flipped over from the basketball game, and look, we get it. I mean, they're playing in the NBA Finals. Golden State has a 12-point lead over the Cavaliers. They've just gone to halftime.
And that game is in Cleveland, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're doing it a little bit differently this year. They're going 2-2-1-1-1. And Golden State has a home court advantage. So they'll play game 4 tonight. They are playing game 4 tonight. Then game 5 would be Sunday. And that will be in Oakland. I did not realize, and maybe you knew this, I didn't know this till the other day. I guess that the Golden State Warriors are moving to downtown San Francisco next year.
I heard that they were.
Or is it the following year? They're building a brand new arena right next to AT&T Park. Somebody just told me that the other day. You got to wonder if there will be any sports teams left in Oakland within the next 3 or 4 years. There's a ground ball to second base. Road hustling up the line. It appeared to surprise Addison Russell, but he has that shortstop arm and throws a bullet in time to get it. See the numbers on James Russell. Of course, a young man who was born in Cincinnati, while his father, a native Cincinnatian, was making his way up through the Red system before eventually landing in Texas, where he became a closer, and a good one for many years. Reds bats have gone very, very quiet since the starter Wada was removed from the game. Travis Wood allowed just 1 hit. That was a single to the man who bats right now in the 5th inning. Struck out a batter. Wood did not walk anybody. No runs. Grimm, 2 batters, 2 outs. And here's Russell, 2 up, 2 down.
Well, they didn't exactly knock Wada out of the box. I mean, you take away that 2-run double. or triple that Michael Lorenzen hit with 2 outs in the second inning. And the offense would be surrounding a solo shot by Dominguez.
Two pitch. And now a full count on DeJesus. Well, you got a chance to get right back in this thing now. If you can find a way to get DeJesus on and Votto extend the inning, run into one. Frazier, you're down by 3 and beginning to run out of outs. And a bouncing ball instead should be the final out of the inning, and it is. Reds gone in order for a second straight inning. They trail by 3 as they stand and stretch at Wrigley Field. Gold medal winners for the United States men's swim team.
Let's go,
Connor Dwyer and Cullen Jones. Reds are down 6-3 in the opener of 4 here at Wrigley Field tonight. And now Nate Adcock, who made his Reds debut in Tuesday's 11-2 win against Philadelphia, worked an inning, allowed a hit, no runs. He'll take over on the mound, replacing Badenhop, who pitched well tonight. Two 2-0 on Bryant. Walked and scored on the home run by Montero in the first inning. Struck out looking against Lorenzen in the third. And then delivered a big run-scoring double. Part of a 2-run fifth to take this lead to its current mark of 3 for Chicago. Rain continues to fall. Three and one. 3-2 to Bryant. Straight up in the air. Bruce looking into the rain, which continues to lightly fall, but fall nonetheless. 1 out. Reds will try and jump back into this thing in the 8th inning when they have Votto, Frazier, and Bruce to start things. We've told you that Adcock grew up in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and for more on that, how about a Jim Day?
Cliff, Kentucky is what it is, Tom, and I talked to him before the game, and he's so excited to be a Red because his dad followed the Reds and always talked about those great players, the Big Red Machine, etc. And he says it's just a thrill to be pitching for Cincinnati, not only to put that Reds uniform on that his dad loved, but most of the games, if not all, that we broadcast are shown in Radcliffe, Kentucky, so his entire family can watch the Reds on a nightly basis. It is a dream come true for him to put on that Reds uniform.
Well, his family, thanks so much for dialing us in. And it's certainly nice to have your son, family member, friend wearing a Reds uniform. Jim, I want to get back to you on something, and you know, we talk about it all the time, and I like to give you the credit because you've worked very hard on multiple levels. You don't need me patting you on the back, but it's just the truth. And the relationship that you built up with so many through the years, and especially so more so maybe than anybody else with Brandon. When would you expect, or when does he expect that we might see him back in the lineup?
Well, I looked at him during batting practice, taking ground balls and taking BP, and as we said earlier, Brian Price wanted him to go through a full day and get through that fine. And Brian Price is under the same thing Dusty Baker did. When a player says he's okay, give him one extra day. It would surprise me if he's in the starting lineup tomorrow.
Okay. Ooh. There's a liner that hits Adcock. He still gets to the bag, and safe is a call at first. There'll be a base hit. Hopefully Nate's okay. Bent over now at the waist. Not sure where it got him. Let's see if we can tell on the replay. It got him pretty good, though.
Well, we'll take another look at it. Solid body shot. I got him off the side, right around the belt area. Boy, if he gets over there a half step faster, he gets the man at first base. That would have been a heck of a play by Votto. And Adcock reaching the bag and reaching back for the ball at the same time.
First one he threw, allowing him to make a couple of warm-up tosses. Sailed well wide of the strike zone. That one right down the can.
You know, Radcliffe is in Hardin County, Kentucky. I don't know if you've ever been down that area, Tom, but that's where Fort Knox is. Of course, the whole economy of that county is pretty much dominated by all the people that work at Fort Knox. Part of the state.
I bet he has some family that works around there. So the base hit by Montero. It appears that Nate's all right. And now he'll face Starlin Castro, 0 for 3 in the game. Sailed way inside on a right-handed batting club shortstop.
Adcock's got that kind of low 3/4 arm delivery. So when he lets that ball loose a little bit too soon, it's really going to run in on a right-hander. He's probably one of these pitchers, I haven't seen him enough to really know, but that he has to keep telling himself to keep his fingers on top of the ball to drive that ball down rather than sideways.
And that might have been exactly what Brian Pena came out to say to him. He's got some nice life, doesn't he, Chris, on that fastball?
He really does, and you don't really see all that many good swings off of him. That's one way you indicate whether he's hiding the ball well or not. Mark Castro just does not look like the same guy we saw a couple of years ago, though. He was one of the toughest outs in the league. Seems like he's really pulling off the ball.
Broken bat, sinking liner. DeGrom got a nice jump. 2 outs in the inning. A limited schedule in both leagues in baseball tonight. Only 2 finals in the National League. Well, 3 including earlier today. San Diego getting by Atlanta. Tonight, the Mets rally to down the Giants 5-4. And Miami shuts out Colorado in South Florida 6-0. Those are the only games along with this one played tonight. Johnny Cueto against Jason Hamill. The matchup here tomorrow afternoon. That is another odd starting time. 4 o'clock Eastern. Reds Live will come your way tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern. Night game Saturday night. Night game Sunday night. Stroke, the hard throwing right-hander, is ready to pitch in the 8th inning. Cubs lead by 3. Bases occupied only at first by Montero. 2-0 on Coghlan. 3-0. How about that? Just a bouncer over the head of Votto. This will be a double by Coghlan. It will send Montero on to third base.
It's the 3rd time in the ballgame we've seen the Cubs go after a 3-0 pitch. First time they put the ball in play, and it's a high bouncer right over the first baseman's head.
We have the number 7 hitter now in Junior League. Pinch hitter, one-time Red Kristen Orphy, is already standing in the on-deck circle and would bat for the pitcher. Should we get that far? Now all of a sudden Nate having a hard time finding the strike zone. He hadn't walked anybody, but he fell behind Coghlan. 3-0 before that bouncer over the head of Votto for a double. And now 2-0 on Junior Lake. 0 for 3 in a game. Sangrani just now beginning to loosen in the Reds bullpen. And there is a 4-pitch walk to the 230 batting Lake. So the one-time Red, Kristen Orphea, who has, carved himself out a pretty nice major league career since leaving Cincinnati. He'll bat with the bases loaded, but not before a visit to the mound by the man who made his major league debut against the Reds, pitching for the Cubs, and Reds pitching coach Jeff Pico.
Now, that Orphea just recently coming off the disabled list here with the Cubs, and he's off to a really good start. After he left Cincinnati, he played a couple of years at Oakland, parts of 4 or 5 seasons with the Padres. Last year split time between San Diego and Seattle, and then comes over here to Chicago. Of course, his Reds connection is that his father-in-law is the AAA pitching coach for the Louisville Bats, Teddy Power. Just gave Teddy a grandbaby, I think, in spring training.
Ted's daughter had something to do with that.
Well, yeah, I would imagine so. You like your jokes, don't you?
No, I'm laughing at yours.
Well, I'm trying to draw the baseball connection. I forget Ted's daughter's name, or else we would be talking about her too.
I know.
It was a very touching moment, though, in spring training. If you remember that, I don't know if you were over at the Cubs Stadium or not, when Chris and his wife and the baby were down on the field.
And I was not there.
In Cubs, of course, Chris was in a Cubs uniform getting ready for a ball game, and here comes Ted, made the trip with the Reds that day, went over and held the baby, and it was just a great family moment.
Really nice moment. Yeah, Ted's that rough, tough-looking, guy. I mean, very intimidating-looking guy when you see him.
Softy on the inside.
No question.
Good pitching coach, too. Reds are fortunate to have him. They've got a lot of good pitching coaches up and down this organization now. You got Ted Power in AAA. You have Jeff Pissarro, I think, in CIN Pissarro, and then Tom Browning in Dayton, and Tony Fossis.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Mark Riggins is the roving and the pitching coordinator. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I'm sure I have.
Well, Nate Adcock needs to throw a strike. He's fallen behind every batter in this inning. And now he's run the count full with the bases loaded. Once more. Slams the door with the bases loaded. All right, let's see if the Reds can get it going. They've got Votto, Frazier, Bruce coming up, down by 3. Pedro Strop comes on to pitch for the Cubs. They have gotten outstanding relief work here tonight.
Yeah, and they've had good relief work for the last month or so. In fact, you go back to May the 20th. That Cubs pen has an earned run average of 1.8 over 59 innings. That's closing it out.
Let's have the part of the order here. Votto, Frazier, Bruce. Down by 3. We're in the top of the 8th inning. 1-2 on Joey Votto. Votto 1 of 3. He doubled off the left center field wall in the 3rd. 10 walks in 26 innings, but Strop very tough to hit. 1 out. Out on the first pitch to Frazier. A rare quiet day for the Reds' 3rd baseman. 2 out just like that. Jay Bruce 0 for 3. Called out on strikes, bounced out to first, called out on strikes, and looks at strike 1 here. There's a high fly ball into right center field, will be handled by Junior Lake, and that did not last long at all. A 1-2-3-8 for Strop. Cubs are bat in the bottom of the inning, leading by 3. Presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing and Manana. We get started Eastern time at 3:30. Johnny Cueto coming off a winning effort, part of a combined 4-hit shutout his last time out. That was against San Diego. Jason Hamill having a real nice year for Chicago.
He sure is. Two good earned run averages right there. That's a great pitching matchup. Made even better perhaps by the time of day that they'll start this ball game. It'll be 3 o'clock local time, 4 at home. Not the easiest time of day to see the baseball around here, especially when you consider how good Johnny Cueto has been historically during day games. Tony Cingrani is the fourth pitcher of the night for Brian Price. Cubs have run out 5 pitchers on the night. They got number 6 warming up.
Is that Rondon down there warming up?
Looks like it.
They've used Mott
No.
the last couple of times to get loose. That is Rondon.
Mott's easy to pick out. Guy warming up. Former catcher. I wonder if Tony was able, Cingrani that is, was able to convince some of his family to come up here, to come to Wrigley Field on the north side.
Jim Day, that's one of the interviews you'll never forget, is it, with his father that day here?
Oh, one of the all-timers. If you close your eyes and listen to Mr. Cingrani talk, it sounds like Chris Sabo. And yes, he basically said, I would never step foot in here if my son wasn't pitching.
He is a hardcore South Side Chicago guy and loves his White Sox with great disdain for the North Siders. Maybe we'll run him down somewhere tomorrow, Jimbo, and see if he's softened his stance a little now that his son's coming in here. You know.
He has not softened his stance unless it has happened over the last month, because last time we were here he sat right behind me.
That's right.
Talked to him throughout the game as Otto makes the tag there. And he just sat there with his arms crossed, and he just didn't seem like he was very happy to be sitting here, and he had choice seats.
That's funny.
Nice play by Joey Votto at the very end of this.
Fowler, 1 of 3, hit a solo home run, leading off the Chicago third inning. He walked in the 6th. Good looking breaking ball there by Cingrani. Piece of hitting by Fowler. He turns around from the right side for the first time tonight and shoots one into right field.
He's been on base 3 times. A couple of hits and a walk.
Hits a mile into the air, fouling out of play. You know, it's just so interesting. I was having a long conversation the other day at the ballpark with the guy who you can't help but have tremendous respect for him as a baseball guy, and that's Tim Naring. We talk about Tim frequently. Makes his home in Cincinnati, born and raised Cincinnati, went to LaSalle High School, now raising his kids with his wife out in the eastern part of town. And of course, he's one of the real close baseball lieutenants of the Yankees general manager Brian Cashman. Now, we got on the topic of Anthony Rizzo the other night, and for many of you at home that have been watching Rizzo since he came to the big leagues and had a chance to play every day with the Cubs, which, remember, is his third organization. To watch this guy develop as a hitter over the last couple of years has just been astonishing. Now, remember now, this was a guy that Theo Epstein, wanted in Boston. They drafted him. And then Jed Hoyer became the general manager in San Diego, and he was a lieutenant of Epstein's. As Rizzo's gone on strikes, he took over the GM job in San Diego and traded for Rizzo. And then Hoyer came here to the Cubs. Epstein became the president of baseball operation, hired Hoyer to be his general manager, and they traded again to get Rizzo. So it wasn't like he, overnight was some stud that we see now. And just in the last couple of years, starting to play every day, he has become a man in this lineup.
Always a very good prospect, but when he got to the major leagues, I think what you mean is that he didn't automatically start hitting 300 in the major leagues and never look back. They suffered through some tough seasons, one of which he hit .233 after going to the plate 606 times.
The Reds get one more crack at him. Here we go in the ninth, where the Reds trail by 3.
Sports Ohio has been brought to you by your local Toyota dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds.
Beautiful look at downtown Chicago.
You need one of those to get around Chicago. Where that picture
Boy,
is
you're
taken,
not lying, man.
Above the skyscrapers. It's the only way to get around down here. Because I tried driving today, and that didn't go so well.
I tell you, it's tough living, man. I mean, I don't care if you make a ton of money, whatever it is. And I was here for 6 years, and it is a different world when you come into cities the size of Chicago. We know about New York, L.A., Houston, some others. That it is tough going, just getting from A to B. All right, here's Rondon. On to try and close it out. The Reds have other thoughts, of course, and they're not going to waste any time behind Rondon. We told you he walked a batter against the Nationals about a week and a half ago to start an inning, and Joe Madden said, that's it. That one is lined hard to left. Coughlin there to get it. Pena retired. Our steel-powered tool performer. The man who comes to the plate, and this is his first start. After being called up earlier today, Chris Dominguez. But the home run, he has 2 hits as a major leaguer, and both of them home runs. One of 3 active players where that holds true. Yasmani Grandal, we know all about him. Dribbled foul.
Well, the guy in the on-deck circle, Eugenio Suarez, his first hit was a home run, but his second hit was not a home run. He did that, of course, last year when he was with the Detroit Tigers. You know, you made mention that they're not going to stay very long with Rondon. I mean, they've got Jason Mott warming up in the bullpen while the closer has a 3-run lead and only 1 inning to pitch. So is this a little bit of a psychological play on the part of Joe Madden to say, hey, we got reinforcements down there if you don't want to get these guys and do it without drama? I guess he's not afraid of hurting people's feelings.
You got to admire that. On swinging Dominguez, and the Reds found their final out.
He might be pressing the right buttons on this young man.
It is so hard to change the culture of a franchise, and there is no culture of any franchise that has suffered through more losing and more heartbreak for over 100 years than this Cub franchise. Well documented, everybody knows it. So Joe Madden walking in here and stepping on a few fingers and toes and upsetting the apple cart, so to speak. So what? What do they have to fall back on?
Last postseason for them was 2007 and 2008. And they didn't win a game in either of those postseasons.
No.
They haven't won a game since they had that series with the Marlins.
Yeah.
When Dusty Baker was managing here. 2003.
And even then, they lost the last 3 games of that series. Yeah. They had a 3-1 lead in the best of 7. Lost 3 in a row.
Five different managers in 6 years.
And of course, I mean, haven't been to a World Series since 1945. And of course, that's when a lot of players were fighting for the United States in World War II.
Didn't win a game in that series either.
And they haven't won a World Series since 1908. And that's by a diving Russell into right field. And Suarez, his first hit as a Red. He's had a pretty good night tonight at the plate. In his Reds debut, he's been on base twice. A hit. He's also walked and scored a run. Skip Schumacher will bat for Cingrani, who works a scoreless inning. Last time Travis Wood won a game pitching out of the bullpen was when he wore a red uniform in 2011. He is in line for the win tonight. Tapper down to Rizzo, and that is that. Cubs win the opener of this 4-game weekend series by a final count of 6-3 and a difference in this one. The Cub bullpen. Wood 2 1/3, no runs. Grimm 2/3, no runs. Russell and Strope work perfect innings. Rondon allows a hit in the ninth. 5 innings, no runs for Joe Maddon's bullpen. We'll be back with more in a moment.